All right. Hopefully I've got everything in order. I double and triple checked everything. Hopefully OBS doesn't crash. That'd be super nice. You know, to not crash. That'd be pretty poggers, in my opinion. So, we've got airbrushing to do. I'm kind of happy with yesterday's test over on Twitch for the gaming side of things. Looking forward to getting the mic split function to allow the microphone to go to both computers. That'll be really good. Maybe we can get some more game time in the offbeat moments between me having to paint minis. What's up, Phoenix? We're doing gloves today. I completely remembered. Or I forgot for the longest time I had gloves. So we're going to Stynal Res Black. Was my decision. We're going to do this before we go in with the Payne's Gray, which is probably going to be kind of hard because Payne's Gray is very close to black. Airbrush seems to be running fine, at least. That's good. What's up, Kobold? Welcome in, everyone. Hopefully y'all had a good Halloween for those who are in that situation. I know for a lot of nerds, it's a good time of year. It's literally the I finally get to cosplay time of year. Don't know why I put the glove on my right hand. This is my airbrush hand. Classic orc naming. Snazwagon. Boomdaka, which I believe would mean what? AoE? AoE shooting. Snazwagon is just nice wagon. Building Stodes. Stodes, one of the easiest paint jobs next to Iron Warriors. Hard gold, a little bit of a color wash. Paint the accents. Even though the vehicle's not AoE, at least the orcs have fun, right? That's all that really matters. Thankfully, usually the black primer goes on pretty effectively with like a single coat. It doesn't have the same issues that white primer always seems to have. My buddy plays Custodes, at least a little bit. He plays them mostly because he doesn't want to, like, move stuff around the field a lot. Like, that's kind of his thing. He has a few armies where it's a little bit more, like, move around, but he always tries to find the army that gets around that a little bit. Like, he plays Harlequins, and Harlequins are all about their, like, solos that are lone op. as well as their vehicles. So like most of his army starts in vehicles, so he doesn't have to move them around. And then he plays Custodes, where you can basically have 3 units on the field, and that's 2,000 points. Always hilarious. Movement, okay, so movement trays aren't necessarily effective. When you do a movement tray, you can't easily amorphously blob your units to conform to the terrain on the field. Which is actually kind of a problem. Because if I'm trying to get the right units in the right spots and be a little sneaky, the movement tray just makes it so that, like, I can't. One of the people at our store who plays guard uses the, like, mini movements. The sort of, like, I think they're 5 gridded. Come on. Doing silver, purple, and blue. Nice. Should do chrome platinum. Yeah, so the way his IG work is you have like all the same size bases on the squads, and it's this like 2 and then 3, right? So you kind of put them in a little 2x3. This is not the best way. This is not the best way to show it because it's smaller for their bases than this. But this is the general shape that they go in, and then you kind of have these little 2x3 trays that you can move 5 at a time. Which, I mean, it's okay. But again, if you're trying to like pile into specific spots, if you don't want to be seen, if you want to make sure your units are just in these tiny little areas in a way that's like, oh, if I get charged, the right people will be in base-to-base kind of situation, you can't really rely on a movement tray. I might have to go get Flow Improver. It's just either chrome or platinum paint, really. My my Vespitor chrome. It's like really, really bright silver. It's a silver that picks up more in its surroundings than anything else. Like, you'll see the colors and lighting in the room in whatever you have on the field. It makes it look a little cool, in my opinion. No, it's worth asking if you think I'm talking about something that is weird that you didn't quite know existed. Half of what you do as a builder or painter is find out about cool stuff you didn't know about before. I mean, that's like 80% of a creative's job, is to be like, oh, this ink's weird. I didn't know this ink worked this way. That's cool. Like, I think Miniac and a few other YouTube artists, like YouTube mini painters, recently showed like their favorite chrome paint that they use, and apparently it's like a chrome that comes out of a marker. Like, you have a marker for it, and then you just put the marker onto your palette and then paint using the stuff that came out of the marker. Which is pretty cool. We're gonna attempt to use a Posca white marker for these, so like we're gonna at least get to see the fun of that, if it's like a fun thing. Oh, your GW Army on Parade was today? Ours was like 2 weeks ago. I do really wish I had the time to put together a good board. I had an idea for my Emperor's Children that would have been really cool. But I don't really have the room to, like, build it here, let alone store it. The chrome we used comes from the Vallejo AIRBRUSH line. There might be like a regular paint-on version though. But that was a really good chrome. I'm probably gonna have to pull it out for painting with these guys because most of their backpacks are gonna be chrome, and as well as the chest components that hold the backpacks on. Those are supposed to be chrome for the paint scheme I'm looking at doing. It is an airbrush paint, so it has a lot of thinner in it versus what you would get out of like a regular thing of paint. The scheme is that one we were looking at. I don't know if you were here for it. I can't remember their name. It's like the Armageddon warband. It's full armor is like a bluish black, which is why we got Payne's gray. So it's kind of close to Night Lords, but the shoulder pads and then the shin guards are done as like green flame, which is why we have the white marker, because what we're going to try to do is do like an opaque white flame pattern and then hit it with Hexwraith flame speed paint a little bit. So, like, it's kind of simple, but not really. Yeah, I think it's... There's two that look exactly the same. I think one's the Forsworn, and then one's, like, Armageddon. That's one of those weird things with Chaos Warbands. Is that there's a few warbands that are all differently named, but they're all the same one. Like, visually. I'm guessing over time, maybe they changed their name, or maybe there's like a different leader for one versus the other. You know, classic Chaos struggles. Black primer. Yeah, we were playing Arc Raiders on stream using my 2-stream setup yesterday. A few people came out to check it out. It was cool because it runs really smoothly on my one PC, and then this other one streams it really well. So that was fun. Now we'll be able to do that going forward a little bit. Playing Tzeentch Demons against Nids? Man. What's that even like? I imagine the Nids fight... Like, what kind of Nids were they? Subterranean Assault, which is basically just Tzeentch Demons as Nids. Oh, okay, Invasion Fleet. Was Invasion Fleet the one that I've seen people say is like kind of mindless? Like all the benefits of it are just constantly in play, and it's pretty good just in general. There was one of them that I heard was just that kind of a good, where it's like, oh, it's basic. Oh, you won? Nice. I tried getting into TTS. There's just something about it. Like, the whole reason I got back into 40K was I was getting sick and tired of playing video games against people who were just, like, online anonymous, right? And it felt barren of interaction and, like, community. It's just a bunch of people kind of just playing games, no one talking. It's like having a hobby that no one else will ever talk to you about while they play it with you. It's just weird. And TTS kind of feels that way to me. Imagine if you got a decent group of friends, yeah. One of the local groups that does Kill Team in person, apparently they'll play Kill Team on TTS occasionally. Infinite number, Phoenix. Infinite number. At least, okay, so with the core rules of 40K, how many games have you played? And are you familiar with a lot of, like, the general rules oddities, like the 1.1 inch off a wall being unchargeable in most situations? Tricks with vision, tricks with like how revives work, tricks with how you can sort of utilize certain rules to be drastically in your advantage, like how reactive moves can usually allow you to get into vehicles after you do the maneuver, like that kind of stuff. Because as long as you can get like the core rules down and like all the tricks you could possibly have in your bag, as well as understanding in terms of competitive play where the best positioning is to try to achieve the goals of the missions in the deck of cards that you have access to. That's where getting good with a faction starts, I think. Because like once you know all that, you'll know it for everyone, which means you'll know it for like the side armies, where when you ask them like, oh, what do you have reactive moves in this? And they're like, yeah, then you can kind of picture all the cool things they can do. You see their army and you realize they're mostly ranged. You kind of know how they're going to position. Yeah, so you're going to want to learn, you're going to want to make sure the basics are fully covered, regardless of faction. And having cool abilities and all the special detachments and rules, that is important to know, yes. But getting down the core basics that everyone can partake in, that's huge. Because then you start really leaning into, like, knowing how to screen, whether or not you need to, stuff like that. And that gets very important. I think, a lot of instances I've heard, like, the, quotes, professional players, they talk about how at their level of play, a lot of what they do isn't about, like, necessarily needing to fully understand the weird nuances of their detachments, let alone what anyone else plays. They mostly just play in order to score, regardless of what happens on the field. And that's really what makes them win a lot, is, like, they don't care. It's like, oh, you have reactive moves and pretty good anti-tank. That's fun. I know what all the missions are going to be in this deck of cards. And when they come up, there's a high chance I'm going to get them. So at, like, high-level play, it's mostly about racing to get to 100 points and trying to find the opening to ensure your opponent gets slightly less than 100 points without sacrificing too much. And if you can find that moment and the dice roll well, then you're pretty good. But that's at high end. Like, what's your local group like? Like, if you just have a bunch of local people who, you know, they just like playing, probably doesn't matter as much. Then it just comes down to sticking with the detachment and faction that you want to play. That way, I think the best bet at that point is you want to get to a position where when it comes to someone being like, hey, if I'm going to do this, I'm hoping you can't do this to me. Like, you're going to know in the back of your head, like, oh, I have a rule for that. And then you can just be like, no. So if you do that, I'm going to move here, and then I could easily handle this. And they're like, oh, okay. Like, become the lexicon of your own army. And at the very least, in casual play, that'll, you know, it'll be fun. It won't feel like you're getting one over on people. It won't feel like you're trying to be that guy. And the games start going by really quick in that situation, which just starts giving you more and more experience. Insofar as, like, retrospective. Like, when you start really getting to a point where something happens and then in your brain you're thinking, like, what could I have done? Like, recently I had a game where I only won by 1 point, but there was something I did early in the game where I was like, oh, I 100% should not have done that. Had I done this instead, it would have been much easier to, like, deal with. Hopefully you're playing among people who are good for learning, though. That's kind of the big thing that I genuinely hope people find. Community-wise near here, we have some extremely high-level players, and a good chunk of them are, like, very pro expanding the community. And not so much in a way of, like, oh, we need more players so that I can stomp more people, like that kind of feeling. Like, when I started playing, someone had just gotten into the group before me, by the name of Justin, who, if you follow 40K, you might know is one of the better players for Chaos Demons in the world. So yeah, he was learning. He was playing Necron at the time, and we did tournaments together. And at first, like, when you saw him play, you were like, there were things that he did where you were like, okay, those are mistakes. But over maybe like a year of hyper focusing on the game with his kind of personality, yeah, he just became really good. And it genuinely is a testament to the local scene near here. It's people who want good competition. And he was learning from people who were top in, like, a lot of different factions. Like, higher end. At least, like, top 20, maybe. And for him to just go from brand new to going to big tournaments and playing on the end table. Pretty good ride. To be hyper-focused and get better, but I'm kind of just getting tired and being tabled. Ah, so you're going Custodes. Like, that's... So I play Thousand Suns, which is basically like mini Custodes. Our points are drastically overcosted for the stats that we currently have access to. They've heavily nerfed us multiple times for some reason. Let's wait for this to dry, see if I have to hit anything with fixative. But you and me are in the same boat of we really, really, really have to try to not lose our units. Let me go get a cleaning brush. So what you and I need to do is technically counterproductive to what you would think is fun in tabletop, and that kind of sucks. You're not meant to like rush out turn one. You're not meant to really put yourself into situations where you're gonna lose a unit before turn like 3 or 4. And Thousand Suns used to have this function when the codex first came out, and then they took it away from us. And it's like, oh, okay. I guess I'm fine with not doing that well now. But the things you have on field, like Custodes don't really have like fodder. I think most people ally in Agents of the Imperium into them to get like a couple squads of, I don't know, Navy Breachers or what, the Arbites. Like they just do that because you need a couple things to sit on your backfield while your big units are like hiding in buildings and waiting for things to get close to you. Because you're all about counterplay. That's your whole purpose. You have to try to find the moment where your opponent does something that's gonna be dumb, right? They just screw up. And you hope, beyond hope, that it's like turn 3, you've been saving up your command points, and you're gonna have a good turn 3 go round where you wipe out a lot of the enemy power and ability to score. And if you did, you're good. If you didn't, you're gonna lose. And you kind of need to find good combos and good systems that shut down other people's abilities and functions. Because you're saying you're also on Necron and CSM. Necron's in good hands, I think. Necron is statistically really good as an army right now. And CSM's pretty good. They have a good couple of options. Like, you'll see at least 2 or 3 detachments do decently well in tournament play from CSM. You don't normally see it with Custodes, but good play with Custodes, even if you don't win, if you end up being like, oh, well, the point scoring split between me and my opponent was only like 2 points difference. That's still pretty good. If you consider that prospect from the more modern like 5v5 tournaments, if you're within, I think, like 5 or 10 points of your opponent, that means you did not give up a victory point to your enemy team. That means you kept it 0-0, which could be just as well as just outright stomping out your opponent, because Custodes aren't a decent matchup into a lot of stuff, but they have potential. probably gonna brush on the black primer that we need to fix on these. It's already mostly dry. I love Stynylrez Res Black because it dries like in 10 minutes. So consider those 1 to 2 points as you still doing good. Yes, you're losing. But I've been, like, I played a tournament where I went up against I think, Northeast top 5 Death Guard player. He stomped me out by 50 points. That's me not being good. Now, if he stomped me out by, like, 10 points, that would have actually been pretty cool. Because, like, having me be a person who's not even, like, ranked on any leaderboard, who's still trying to figure out how he wants to play and what, if I could have held my own in that situation, that would have been great. The one thing he did say when I was playing against him was that the way I built my list and then used it in the fight was pretty good, but, like, one of my key elements in my list didn't really help against him specifically. I was running a Helldrake at the time because I thought it was funny. But it was my Vastor list, and what he was surprised by was when I stepped out with my Forge Fiends and literally, like, almost annihilated all of his Nurgling squads in a turn. He was like, I have not seen someone do that this entire tournament. And it's like, yeah, it's because this is how Vastor works. You're supposed to be able to wipe things off the board easily, at risk of your own health. But it just, I got kind of caught in a corner. I mean, third game of the tournament, my brain was off. I wasn't doing things. He showed me something, because I don't use transports often. He showed me, like, well, you have cultists in that transport over there. You could pop them out, run them to the objective, and then try to get the transport through my stuff to get to the objective as well, to try to get points. What's up, Phaedros? It's going all right. Talking to people over on YouTube. Sadly, because of the constant back and forth between YouTube and Twitch, the little chat stuff here is mostly just for the Twitch people. Because apparently, if I make the YouTube people also join it, I can have my channel get banned for a little bit. I don't understand. It's a foolish play in my opinion, but it is what it is. At the very least, the YouTube players, the YouTube watchers will be able to see what the Twitch people are talking about. So yeah, we're gonna try and see poggers. We're gonna try and see how Payne's Gray works. Now, Payne's Gray, when I looked at it on the shelf, this is very matte, which is not common for a high flow paint. It's also very blue-black, which I am hyper interested in. And as a base for my Raptors, that should be pretty good. We're gonna try to, like, simplify my Raptor paint scheme. I'm not gonna do, like, underglow. I'm not gonna do, like, all that crazy stuff. We're gonna try to go simple with them. It is hewing it a little to the blue side. I do kind of see it, but it's definitely picking up a lot of the black underpaint. We'll see how it sort of works out when it dries. So Phoenix, you're getting tabled but losing by 2 points. So I'm guessing you're getting tabled at the end of the game. I mean, your opponents will always have more units than you if you're playing Custodes. There is a very rare matchup where Custodes table their opponents. And I mean, if you're just trying to avoid getting tabled, like, that's not hard, but you're probably not going to win. The new Raptors are these aren't the new Raptors, to be clear. Games Workshop doesn't care about what I do. At least, not right now. So these aren't like the new Raptor sculpts or anything. From what I can tell, having built these versus what I've seen with the new Raptor sculpts, a lot of it's the same. Like the backpacks and stuff are a lot the same. But what I've noticed between the two sculpts is that the swords are a lot more like basic versus the old. The legs are a little bit better. They have more kneecaps on them versus the that weird non-kneecapped shin guard function. They're a little more dynamic in pose. Their upper bodies do look a little different. There's a lot that's very similar to the ones we're putting together. But we've basically decided to fully convert the Raptors so that I could just have the Raptor kill team before it even comes out. Yeah. Because, like, this is the curse. This is the curse claw. This is a couple parts from my Gene Stealers and a couple parts from a Chaos Spawn. So, like, ta-da! Yeah, it's not... So, Phoenix, it's not the worst to be tabled so long as you're keeping the score close. The question is whether or not you can retrospectively look at what you did and go, oh, if I didn't go turn 2, if I waited, or if I had, like, a better roll here. Because, I mean, this is a game of dice. The stories are told in dice. When I play my Vashdor list, I have to roll for the enhancements in order to suit myself up enough to be able to statistically destroy enemy squads. The process of doing that puts me in a position where I might kill my own units. And because of that, I have lost so many games playing my Vashdor list simply because in the first 2 turns, I do half the damage to all of my tanks that people need to do to kill them by myself because I roll poorly. And I mean, that's the dice telling the story, because if I didn't do that, it would have been a whole other game. Probably would have been better to gray prime for this. I see it as a blue hue. I'm pretty sure you guys can't on camera, but I do see it as a blue hue a little bit here. But it does start to pull the black through a little bit more. It's only slightly blue. Probably should have did either white primer or gray primer. Probably could have zenithal, now that I'm thinking about it. In theory, I've got enough of this paint that we could go back in and zenithal at this point. I think we do that. Because it's a pretty thin paint we're applying. Yeah, but you do need that patience, because even if your friends, like, if you're seeing your friends score, you're gonna need to learn, like, the when do I go moment, which that, I think, is probably the biggest thing to learn in 40K. It took me a while to learn it in Kill Team, and it's still, to this day, way easier for me to, like, visualize in Kill Team. But yeah, in 40K, like, I'm trying to find the plan and the play for Thousand Suns. And it never feels like I'm supposed to go early. I'm just trying to figure out the exact moment. The time to shine. I've started doing a lot better on Emperor's Children because I don't like hard pressure early. I usually try to find the moment in turn 2 or 3 to really get stuff. Like, I have things to make early game scoring fine because I got some Chaos Spawn. I have some things to trade with a little better. Is that the Star Wars skirmish game? Nah, I never really looked into it. I saw a bunch of people say it was cool, but I can't remember if... I know X-Wing was the one that was really good, that the company was like, oh man, this was great. It's cool that you all love this game and that it got so big so quickly. This last update's the last update. We're not doing it anymore. like just the whole like, oh, that was fun. We're stopping now. It kind of put a bad taste in my mouth for IP-driven tabletop games. Because IP-driven tabletop games, I imagine you have to keep paying for the license to keep it going. Which is kind of why... I don't know if you've noticed this. But games like Marvel Rivals on PC, or on, I guess, consoles and platforms and whatnot. Marvel Rivals has been talking about putting more characters in the game that aren't from the comics for that very reason. It means you can expand the game without the need to pay for a license for a character. So that's why they're like, oh, you guys are going to get comic book characters that are new. Okay. Shatterpoint's the skirmish. Legion is the small army game. No, I haven't really played it. Again, because of the whole, like, it's the Star Wars IP. If the company making it isn't really directly connected to, I guess at this point, Disney, then there's always that chance that it's like, we're not going to renew the license to you. And then it's like this game that you like, that you're hoping expands, is now done. Just done. Let me go grab my white ink so we can prepare to do a slight zenithal. Yeah, so Asmodee, I've heard mixed things about Asmodee. But if Asmodee doesn't have like a direct link to Disney, let's see if Asmodee has a parent company. Asmodee's Embracer. Embracer wouldn't be Disney. And as of February of this year, Asmodee to saddle over $920 million of debt as parent company splits in 2020. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would get too hard into it. Personally. Is there information for Star Wars Legion going forward? Yeah, it's kind of lined up for that whole, like, once it stops making money for the license, it just ends situation. It's what makes me sad about those games. Because Shatterpoint was supposed to be cool. I think the Halo one as well, like the Halo skirmish game was supposed to be good. But these are all IP driven. You know, you buy it, you put it together. The moment it stops making money, you have to kind of bail on it, or else it's going to cost you too much to keep going. You don't get to play through the ups and downs. You have to kind of bail at the downs. Which makes it a little crappy. Yeah. Alright, white ink. At that point, why not just do it now, though? Like, that's the trick, because we'd have to make... If it stops making money and they cancel it, and then we have to start making the rules, we could just establish it. And so one thing, keeping the rules up to date, I think that's what they tried with the X-Wing game, because the X-Wing game was really good, and watching it just stop was really crappy for the players. So I think they tried to keep it going. I can't remember how far they got it, though. And then when you talk about 3D prints in that situation... do try as hard as humanly possible to never talk about who's printing the really cool Star Wars 3D prints. You want a company, like, people are complaining of Games Workshop doing this, but if you want a company rammed so far into your Etsy shop butthole, try to do Star Wars stuff consistently and then try to sell it to people, either through STL or general prints. Where did my white ink go? This is pearlescent. Liquitex white ink. It's one of the better zenithaling paints. Yeah, but then it doesn't really have anywhere to go, does it? If it's just a dogfight game, then it's practically one of those things where you just sell a box and call it. So I guess like a single drop, a single box is probably the best place for it to exist. Because, I mean, it's happening in a universe that only has so much. Alien Ant Farm for all you non-YouTubers. Benny, are you okay? Apparently people local to me are trying to start back up a an Underworlds scene. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I still like Underworlds. I'm looking forward technically to the Gundam variant. But we'll see. Alright. Hit it with that light zenithal. Oh, Morlock? Which one's Morlock? Was Morlock the... No. Was Morlock the big troll? I'm trying to remember who Morlock was. Oh, the skeletons. Spilled white ink. I'm just trying to get my hands on the cards for the Ephelims. That's it. I just want to play Ephelims. Ephelims always was my Underworld's team of choice. I can't wait for the Raptor rules to come out and for me to be like, oh, I don't want to play these. All this work, all this effort. Go figure I would overfill the white. So with Arc Raiders, as that is also what we're occasionally playing now, I still don't know how I feel about the game loop. Like, I'm trying to think that if I looked into it, if they were like, oh yeah, the game's all about new game plussing, I don't know if I would have bought it. I mean, maybe I would have. Does sound a little cool though. They were talking recently about how there's going to be an update coming soon where the game actually is going to change its weather based on like real world conditions. Like if it's winter in a lot of places, then the map will just be like all snow. So they're going to try to match like changing world conditions for seasons, depending. They might do like an internal in-game clock for it. Alright, this should be dry soon-esque, which means I put way too much in here. I noticed in Underworlds they got rid of the you can only have one Cataclysm deck in your combination. I don't know if that means you can just use multiple Cataclysms, which would be crazy. Okay. Second round. Payne's Gray. Let's see if the Zenithal actually kind of helps it. I don't want to overload it because the Payne's Gray might take over and just go full dark. There's a little bit, like it's a little bit better. I don't know if I can set the camera for you guys to see it. Let me see. Ah, you can kind of see it. So now it's just a little bit more blue shifted in the zenithal areas. Which is nice. You've been working on, is this a different Phantom or is this the one you've been working on for like what feels like 2 years now? Because I know you were thinking of doing the stenciling or something to try to make it look like an energy shield. There's some element to it. Oh, geez. I mean, it is a big Titan-y thing, so always a big project. I feel like if I had a Titan, it would probably take me at least like 2-3 months going hard. Like actually like every day, live every day, making decisions, trying to make it look as best as possible. So close to being ready to actually physically paint. Okay. This is where the fun kind of kicks in. I'll probably zoom in for it. Let me clear some stuff once we get this cleaned out. Because this is the Posca pen moment. Where we see if the Posca pen idea works. If not, it was about thinning down white paint enough that a liner brush will work. Okay. Airbrush off. Pull the ventilation out. One of these days I'll pull out my giant wet palette for this. I'm probably gonna need to go get my water squirt bottle. It's a little damp, but I don't think it's enough. Hiya. Okay, so the key thing here for the color scheme, do we want to do the silver first or do we want to do the Posca first? I kind of want to try the silver or the Posca. Shake, press, yeah. Why you do this to me? Why you do this to me, Posca Pen? See the paint coming out. I feel like it'll just be easier to get like a thin brush. Let me pull up the army. Never remember their names. Here we are. Bleak Brotherhood. Or the Apocalypse Company. between Death Specters and Mentors as a Space Marine. That's one of those like absolutely, I imagine, random questions. Let me see something. 40k Specters, Mentors. Because this sounds like the battle of the niche of the niche. Mentors? I feel like I've seen more Mentors than I've seen Death Specters. Yeah, the Corvus Corax Primarch. Yeah, I feel like... I mean, black with white shoulder pad. I mean, to be clear, I see none of these. Like, in my time, I don't see any of them. Like, at all. But, like, in general, I feel like you would probably see Mentors more than Death Specters. Depending on where you are, of course. Because at least Death Specters are semi-connected with the Ravens. And Corvus Corax. So if you're in an area that has a lot of like Corvus Corax fans, you'll probably see more Death Specters. Now, if you were just to be like, which one's more interesting, Imperial Fists or Ultramarines? It's like, oh, well, Ultramarines, but probably not by a lot. Where have I seen Mentors before? I feel like I've seen that color scheme. Like in a game or something, or maybe like a cover art. When I originally saw them, my first thought was, oh, these are Dark Angels, but the rest of it, not so much. hands? Yeah, their hands are hit with it. Yeah, I feel like I've seen them. I just can't remember where. Like, maybe back when I was playing in 3rd, they were used in, like, more artwork. That's a big maybe. Big maybe. Yeah, whereas Death Specters are basically just like a slight augmentation to the Raven's color scheme, so I feel like you'd probably see a good bit of them. Even if it's like by accident, like someone playing a Raven just like made that color scheme and was like, oh, it's a pretty cool alternative. It's like, yeah, it's Death Specters. Oh, I didn't know that. That kind of randomness. Slight foul up question. What should I be doing for the first 3 turns in a game of 40k? A lot of it positioning for upcoming scoring potential if you're playing tactical. And a lot of it is like built around kind of what your opponent's doing. Like if your opponent's a really good deep strike mobile army, you're going to want to screen. Make sure you're in good positions to not give up like backline or easy ways for your opponent to sort of land and then do whatever the hell they want. Although with 6-inch deep strikes, that's getting harder and harder. And then just like the rest of the game, it's scoring. Determine where you're going to want to stand in preparation to score points. Because that's kind of always the thought process, is like if you're watching your opponent be in a spot that gives them points and you're like, oh, I need to go kill that, right, to stop them from scoring points. If the spot you're standing in is a place you need to be, if you draw a card that's going to score you points and you leave and you don't have a backup plan, you don't have that thing that's going to be there and be like, oh, I got this, don't worry about it, I'll score the points for us, then you're giving up points by potentially not taking away your opponent's ability to score. And that becomes sort of like the key issue of overextension and overaggression. Because like you said, you're playing Custodies, you only have so many pawns on the field. Once you expend those, it's pretty much over. I know a lot of the times, depending on what your build is, Custodes can take like their Aquilins, and like you're just gonna go to a point when it's time, right? Like kind of position a threatening unit that's gonna pop out and hold something for like a turn or two to be that unit that's like, all right, now I have to go. I have to be in midpoint. I have to kill the thing in midpoint, and then I have to hold midpoint, and I can just do that for a while. Because you do technically need to build a list around what the current rule set is. Like if the current rule set for the games that you're playing was just like, oh, it's a parking lot, everything is visible, like that drastically changes how you should be building your lists. We would see a lot less heavy infantry, like focused lists. The all infantry IG list that's been doing really good at tournaments, I got to fight it when they didn't really have much cover. It's not good if there's no cover. That's like a very key thing about that list. The moment that list loses its cover, it loses its power. So, like, do you have a lot of Custodes to choose from, or are you, like, slow building the collection? Because if you don't have the right units to achieve all goals, you need to try to figure out what goals your list can achieve, and then try to figure out how you can focus on that. Like, if your list is really good at being in all four quarters for a while... What? Let me grab... we're kind of doing this, but let me... I fought a guard infantry list with my Chaos Knights they just didn't have cover. So they did the thing where they were like, oh, I have cover anywhere. And then I paid a command point to turn the cover off for all 36 of my attacks with sustain. And just picked 2 squads and wiped them both out every turn. So yeah, the main thing you do is, like, you gotta learn the secondaries. You gotta learn what all the functions are, and to make sure you have stuff in places to be able to do whatever you need. That's like a very key thing. If you don't think you can do all of this, you're in with that shot of going, okay, well, like, establish locus. Could I, like, throw a squad, since it's fixed? Could I throw a squad on point and just keep establishing locus? Probably not the best, because it's only, like, a little bit. But yeah, part of it's, like, making sure you can maximum score as often as possible. That's why my EC, when I play my Emperor's Children, it's a lot easier than when I play my Thousand Suns. Because my Thousand Suns are a bit slow. So when my EC are in play and I pull one of those cards that's like, be here now, I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. Let me just roll my advance roll for my 8-inch move Chaos Spawn, that's 60 points, and send him upfield and not care about it. But if you don't have access to that, you gotta figure out what you need. Because like I was talking about, the Death Guard player that I played against, who was like top 3 Northeast US, he was running a list where he was doing cleanse, and I think the like 3/4 hold, he would just run fixed. He never ran tactic. He built a list around the fixed. You had to counter him, or else he was going to get very close to a full score game, because he just built a list around that combination. Main missions tend to always focus on like the objectives in middle, so as long as you're able to like interact with those, whatever you can find for your secondaries, or whatever you get for your secondaries, are just like icing on the cake. Rhinos are always good. Because Rhinos, once they do their task of carry unit to place, make unit do thing, like that's it for them. They're done. They just go score points. Like that's the goal of the Rhino. That's what makes transports like that beautiful. Because they're super cheap, pretty durable. So you need to make sure to have those units. I know in list building, a lot of like the newer players we get at our local store, they lean into the whole like, what has huge stats thing. So like next thing you know, you're fighting 4 greater demons and Mortarion. It's like, alright, cool. But like maybe that list doesn't do well for like achieving certain goals. Where you'll get people being like Ahriman, Magnus, a boatload of Terminators. It's like, you've got like 5 squads on the field. Good luck trying to get missions done. So this is kind of the general gist. And then we hit this with a Hexwraith Flame when it dries. And then we'll just go over it for certain things with the actual trim color. No, you can play that way. I just gotta figure out how to play and win in tournament settings, not just try to table settings. I've played in games where I've tabled my opponent who scored 20 points more than me. It's kind of eye-opening. I've also played games where I really should, like, hold back on the scoring, because, like, it does feel bad at times when you're playing against that opponent who's just learning, and you're, like, 40 points ahead of them, and nothing they do seems to stop it, while they don't score any of their own points. It's like, oh, man. Probably shouldn't have hopped off that objective with that squad. Now you can't do that thing. No, yeah, I grew up playing that game too. I grew up playing against people who thought they had lists that would work against mine. But then because of how like list building was for Chaos at that point in time, the thing they thought would work ends up not working. I remember making a kid who was he played the Vulcan list when Vulcan got released, and they were like, "Oh, dude, Meltas and Flamers get like full rerolls," which was absolutely nonsense. Back in the era of land speeders with multi-Meltas. I remember him trying to take out my leader, because I didn't really have a lot of units. I had like very few units on the field, because my leader was like 500 points or something. The rules explicitly stated that the only limit for war gear was for war gear. And then there was an FAQ where someone was like, well, what about demon enhancements? Those aren't war gear. And they were like, yeah, you can take as many of them as you want. But once you get past like 100 points in demon enhancements, they wanted you to make like the character look ridiculous. So I did. I made my character look ridiculous, and he was like 500 points. Tons of rerolls, tons of wounds, huge toughness, really good weapon skill, great movement. Turn 2, just pile drive them into the enemy, start wiping out squads. I ran him into a green tide army once and watched as like the whole first squad of orcs I ran into just died. One guy. But then I had nothing else on the field. I had like one squad of oblets, like a couple defilers. That's pretty much it. 2 little baby troop choices. My buddy played Nids back in 4th. He did heavy gene stealers. He liked the Lictor play. Lictor play was hilarious. The whole prospect of needing to like mark on a piece of paper where it was hiding. So if something got too close to it, you'd have to put it down, or you could just make it appear. Give it flesh hooks. What's explicitly say in the rules, it technically is able to cling to walls and ceilings as long as it has them. So like you'd just run into a room, or he'd get near like a piece of terrain that had an overhang on it, and he'd be like, I'm clinging to the ceiling. I don't really miss it though. Like back then it was like, I don't know, it was weird. For the longest time, my army wouldn't do good, and then we finally got access to like good ordnance because we didn't have any before. They were finally like, oh yeah, you can have defilers. We were like, oh dip, we get the big blast template, and then that was our life. You would win or lose based on how many defilers you had. What, these guys? Oh, you mean the lictors. We were playing on a map. The whole reason my buddy won the core mission, like the core primary, was because there was a squad of Terminators on like the top floor. And the mission was that you had to have control of the objective. Like you had to be the only one within a range of an objective. And if you weren't, like no one would score on it, right? So you had to clear it. So he just hung a lictor off the bottom of the floor so that no one could charge him, and he was within range of the objective. So like that was the game. The guy wasn't able to kill the lictor, so he wasn't able to score on his home objective. I do wish AOS locally had like a more driving force behind it for people to want to play. feel like we're on a roll here, so I don't want to like stop to test the green. Marker work. Their feet aren't green. Yeah, no, their feet aren't green. I feel like I'm missing something. Nope. I keep looking at it. So I'm like, wait a second, are their heads green? What are you talking about, foam-lined hard case? There's a reason magnets are underneath these things. I wouldn't put a single painted thing into a foam-lined case. Doesn't matter what you've done to it, what you've painted it, or anything. The foam's gonna rub paint off. It just takes time. So these will go in my general carry boxes with magnetic bases. Screw battle foam. I've learned enough about Chaos and them clinging to everything and all their spikiness, and yeah, you can't. Gotta give them that special treatment. I think the only model I have that touches foam is my Helldrakes. Because there's really no option. I still prefer them to foam over everything. Depends on what magnet cases you get too, because you can make your own. There's a guy that would come into the store with his Ultramarines, and for a while there he would bring them in. They were magnetized at their bases, and he would bring them in like tin toolboxes. Kind of made me want to do that with like one of those old school tin lunch boxes with my kill team. Get like an Ed and Eddie lunchbox or something. No, yeah, jet bike flight stands are bad. My screamers have the same stands, or at least they're supposed to. But I was like, screw that noise. So I just took like a bunch of 32s that I had. And used my my really serious glue to put them into that. This guy out here talking Ed, and Eddie. First claw. Poggers. Hold it here. Four more after this, please. You can do it, ADHD brain. So close. Hopefully my microphone wire gets in soon. I really want to try to set it up. So I can get both computers to work for the microphone in. I'm probably gonna have to go back in and layer paint some like semi-dark blue on. I think I've got some pretty good dark blue layer paint. This just the one. So my window's open to like let air out, you know, clear the airbrush air. I have been hearing more police and firefighter sirens than I've ever heard in this area. Like it's actually like I kind of want to look into figure out what the hell's going on, because it's a lot. Like I think I've heard 3 fire trucks, at least like 4 cop cars. And I know there's a college nearby, so I wonder if like one of their buildings, because I think historically at one point in time one of their science buildings, they were doing something and like it just lit the place up. kind of wonder if it's a bit more of that. Hopefully this work plays out. Because I need Hexwraith Flame. What's up, Alexander? Not bad, not bad. We are in the theory test moment for all the stuff we've been working on. I'm not super happy with the results, but at the very least, part of me is at least like resilient enough to think like, oh, I mean, we can make it work. These Raptors might take a few sessions to make them at least look like relatively good. We'll see. I want to get all this down, let it dry, and then see where we go from here. Oh, nice. And what better than to paint Plague Marines during the spoopy season? wonder if I should go back over it with Scorpion Green, but like closer to the outer edge. Pilot unit though. We're probably not going to try to follow exactly what the visual aesthetic for this shows you to do. We might actually go back over a lot of these like outer areas with like either the silver that I have or the chrome, or maybe we'll pull it back to like a dark blue. I mean, this is kind of the gist of the color scheme. It's where we go from here that has me interested. Let me get the chrome on. We'll pull it kind of close to where it's supposed to be. So on a baseline, this is kind of like the most hyper-simplified version of a Bleak Brotherhood paint scheme. probably going to, of course, do white within the actual jet turbines. Give them a different color. Give them that glowing heat. But yeah, Bleak Brotherhood. Chrome chest. Little, like, the straps. Chrome backpacks. Blue-black general armor. And then the Ghost Fire green. This is like a core Bleak Brotherhood, but you do want to make adjustments to it. Kind of try to pull it into a more rendered finish. Something with a bit more focus. Are 2.5 hours in. I do want to, you know, take a break. We are going to be basically working on this for a while this week. Airbrush day is done, and I think a starting point is pretty set. But like in certain spots where there's trim, like down here, I could easily see myself redoing the trim. I'm gonna look around at a bunch of different Bleak Brotherhood schemes that people have done, because this is kind of the picture, right? Like, this is the picture where the armor is just like, this is the color, these are the greens, this is it. I think there's got to be placement where it's like, oh, then you want to do like bolt gun metal on some of the trim, you want to, you know, pop some stuff out using this color, and it's like, oh, maybe we'll do that. Like, what color should the weapons be? Maybe we make them red, bolt gun metal. We'll have to figure it out. So yeah, we got our starting point. So that's super fun. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for chilling. Hopefully we're back tomorrow with some more paint. Oh, what day is it? Saturday? Yeah, hopefully we're back tomorrow with more paint. Sunday is always good to just chill, get some coloring done. So yeah, until next time, guys. Later.